Good afternoon, it's Jane. And did I get a lot accomplished this week? I don't know. I sort of feel like I did, but I didn't. I don't know how to explain it. I've only got 2 hats finished. I've started another hat. And then, of course, I have the knit hat that's not finished. Let me show you the 2 hats that I do have finished. And these are for 5 to 10-year-olds. So there are 2. Do plan on maybe putting a flower on this one. I'm not sure. But what I'm doing is I have one of those, those big bags that you get at Dollar Tree. They're like XL or XL. What I do is I label it 5 to 10, slip those hats in there, because what I'm doing right now is just making hats so that when we have our packing party, it can all go for the packing party. Instead of working on, although I do normally do a couple of boxes. So there's that. The knit hat, I feel like I'm not getting anywhere, but I haven't put a stitch marker on these, so I think I will add a stitch marker. And I'm going to add one from the cruise I got on the cruise. So I'm going to add that right there, so I kind of have a clue where I was at, so I can see if I've made any progress. If I can get it in there. I am filming this around 11 o'clock in the morning, and it is already 91 degrees here in Pennsylvania where I live. It's supposed to get up to, I believe, 98. So, last month I was whining and had the fireplace going. So that's where I'm at, and that's the stitch marker that was provided. So last month I was whining because, oh my God, I was freezing. Had to have the fireplace on. Occasionally had to turn the heater on. We're never happy, are we? Like I said, I did start another hat, but it's not very far along either. Just got the top crown done. Have one more. I think I'm starting one more row before I need to just go all the way around each time. But that's kind of what I have been doing. I get up usually about 5:30 in the morning, start with some coffee, might have breakfast beforehand, depending on what my blood sugar is. And then I go out and start slaying the bamboo or the Japanese knotweed, whatever you want to call it. Did find there's a group. It's called Worldwide Japanese Knotweed Support, where they give you different suggestions for killing it and getting rid of it. And they do, when I was reading the rules, one of the rules was don't suggest vinegar and salt. Doesn't work. We all know that. But the main thing that I'm seeing a lot of people talking about is getting one of those turkey basters, meat injectors with the needle. And actually, once you've cut your bamboo down, knotweed, bamboo, whatever, once you cut it down, then you take that with whatever Roundup or whatever weed killer pesticide you're going to use, and you inject it some down into that so it gets into the root. You got to go down at least 6 inches. That's why you need the meat injector for that. So that's my next line of defense, and maybe it'll work, maybe it won't, but I figure it's a good chance to stand out there, and like I said, gives me a little bit of prayer time and venting. So I'm drinking my water. Hope you're drinking your water today, especially since we're supposed to be having a heat wave. Those of you that can drink water, drink your water. I do know that there are a lot of people who have heart conditions, kidney issues, and sometimes their water intake has to be limited. So you need to follow whatever your physicians are telling you in regards to that. But that is basically it in a nutshell. The only other thing that I have been doing is in the sewing room. I have cut quite a few things. I've kind of been culling some fabric, going through some fabric. I do want to do a couple more Bible covers, book covers, Bible covers. Like I said, there's one that I want to use some of those vinyl iron-ons and try that, see how that comes out with a couple of different things. Mostly I want to use those for Bible bags or for some t-shirts that I have. So that's kind of where I'm at right now. When you have a lot of things going on, can't really spend a lot of time doing what you would like to do, unfortunately. So there's that. Need to get my car inspected. I was thinking it wasn't due until July. Due this month. Nothing like doing it the last week. Normally I like to do it like within the first 2 weeks. But I just didn't realize that, so. What are you gonna do, right? All right, are you ready for a little what in Tarnation? I will tell you also, I've been watching a young fellow, and I do mean young. He might be 9, 10. Max Alexander. He is a designer, fashion designer, and he makes these beautiful creations. Of course, he's the only 9-year-old or 10-year-old, whatever age he is, that I've ever seen work wearing silk pajamas late at night to create his vision of some of these fancy dresses. So if you've not watched him, check him out on Facebook on some of the reels. This kid is amazing right now, and I'm hoping he doesn't go the way of the cuckoos. If you've seen some of those that I have shared, some of these crazy fashions, like wearing a broomstick sideways or dresses sideways or upside down, or wearing people upside down. I mean, there's a part of you that says, is this supposed to be fashion or art? One of my favorite reels is there's this woman in the background, and as these people are walking by, you can see on her face this horrified expression. So I'm sure she's thinking, these guys are nuts. So, yeah, if you get a chance, check some of those out. All right, now on to what in Tarnation. Items left on British buses include bales of hay, a frozen turkey. I can understand the frozen turkey. You think you picked up all your groceries, so. British transport company Megabus is sharing some of the most unusual pieces of lost property left behind on its buses, including hay bales, a frozen turkey, cooking wok, and false teeth. The bus operator said items left behind on buses in May included Winnie the Pooh stuffed toy, a jar of honey, a guitar, a Radiohead vinyl record, insulin, an electric razor, a Neil Diamond CD, a single shoe, and a collection of historic coins and stamps. How do you leave just a single shoe behind? Is maybe the shoe in your bag? And I don't know. Anyway, the company said some of the more unusual items left in the years past have been 3 bales of hay, family tree documents, frozen turkey, false teeth, a cooking wok, and a multiple lone shoes and socks. Megabus said about 95% of its lost and found items are eventually returned to their owners. Those that go unclaimed after 28 days are usually donated to charity. So if you've lost anything riding a Megabus, go to their lost property to report it on their company's website. There's a link. New York Zoo on the hunt for escaped wallaby. A New York zoo is asking for the public's help to hot weather, it's hard to talk. Help to locate a wallaby that escaped from the property. Grace and Glory Animals on Animal Education Zoo in Oswego said the wallaby named Mac escaped just prior to 6 p.m. on Sunday, and this was around June 16th or 17th, I think. We believe she has stayed close but is hiding. Officials said that they are using thermal imaging drones to search for the Australian marsupial, but they have not yet been able to pinpoint Mac's location, despite sightings in the area. The zoo said in a follow-up post that Mac is not dangerous, but is skittish and would likely flee if approached by a stranger. They also say that Mac does not have a fear of cars, so drivers are asked to be extra cautious on their local roads in that area. And then we had a follow-up a couple of days later. Escaped wallaby caught on camera continues to evade capture. The Central New York Zoo, where a wallaby escaped during the weekend, said the marsupial was caught on camera by a thermal drone, but managed to evade capture. The wallaby named Mac escaped Sunday from G&G Animals in Oswego, sparking a day-long search for the animal. Dan Ostdyke said that he's the owner of G&G Animals, said a thermal drone located Mac about half a mile from the zoo Wednesday night, but she stayed one hop ahead of her would-be captors. Then the 3 hours of trying to catch her, she really didn't go anywhere. She just went far enough that she kept avoiding us. Zoo said on social media that capture efforts have been temporarily suspended to avoid causing Mac too much stress. The current plan is not working because of the mass amount of space. In the meantime, she's very much enjoying eating the grass. Follow-up post said the officials are planning to resume the capture efforts Friday night. Here's hoping they caught her. Haven't seen any further updates, so try to keep you updated on that. There is a part of me that goes, what? And I'll tell you why. Loose chicken rescued from Buffalo Wild Wings in Iowa. Animal rescuers were called to the Buffalo Wild Wings eatery in Iowa to wrangle an unusual visitor, a live chicken. The Animal Rescue League of Iowa shared a photo on social media showing a chicken at the front door of the Buffalo Wild Wings on Southeast 14th in Des Moines. What the cluck, officials wrote. Talk about a chicken on the wrong side of the road. The poor confused hen was collected by the ARL Animal Services officer. Interested in adding to your flock? While this hen isn't currently available for adoption, we have many others who are. Wow. Imagine that, chickens on the loose. But my first thought was buffalo wings when I read the caption. Buffalo Wings uses live chickens? This makes a lot more sense now. I'm sure that they get either fresh chickens delivered, that's already butchered, or frozen. Most use frozen, thaw 'em, that kind of thing. Now, this is where the Pittsburgh airport workers went above and beyond. Pittsburgh airport workers find diamond that fell from a traveler's ring. Workers from the Pittsburgh International Airport Maintenance Department spent hours searching for and eventually finding a diamond that fell from a traveler's ring on the baggage carousel. April Schmidt returned to Pittsburgh from a business trip to Los Angeles on Friday and discovered the fabled bad luck of Friday the 13th was with her when she reached to get her suitcase from the baggage carousel. As I went to retrieve my bag from the carousel, my hand got stuck between the suitcase and the edge of the carousel. Pinched my hand, so I pulled my hand back really quickly, she told KDKA TV. Schmidt realized on her drive home that the diamond was missing from the engagement ring her husband had given her in 1992. She rushed back to the airport and started searching for the gem. She was soon joined by stationary engineer Tom Riordan, electrician Steve Durkley, and 2 other members of the airport's maintenance staff. Schmidt ended up leaving empty-handed after about 90 minutes, but the employees continued to search and even removed panels from the carousel to search inside. She received a call about 4 hours later with good news. The diamond had been found. 2 paint sticks taped together, scraping dirt from underneath the carousel. That's exactly how they found it, Riordan said. Schmidt rushed back to the airport to retrieve the diamond. It restored my faith in humanity, honestly. She said, these men didn't know me at all. They knew nothing about how long I've been married. They knew nothing about my husband or the stone or the sentimental value or the economic value, but that didn't matter. They were just committed to doing the right thing. The incident was not the first time Pittsburgh International Airport workers found a traveler's lost diamond. Kristen Tunnell was preparing to leave the airport in 2023 when she realized the diamond was missing from a ring recently given to her by her 99-year-old mother. April Lakaitis, not sure if that's how you pronounce the name, customer service worker at the airport, located the diamond on the floor of a bathroom. So there you have it. That is your what in Tarnation. I know it's not a lot, but, some days it's just like that. All right. Now it's time for the devotion. And this comes from, with God, I always have hope. I may not have to use my reading glasses, but I might. Sometimes it depends. Yeah, I'm going to need to get them on. Some days are like that. Hope for understanding. Daniel answered before the king and said, as for the secret about which the king has inquired, neither wise men, sorcerers, soothsayer, priests, nor diviners are able to declare it to the king. However, there is a God in heaven who reveals secrets. That comes from Daniel 2:27 through 28. In Daniel 2, King Nebuchadnezzar summoned wise men from all over his kingdom and commanded them not only to interpret his disturbing recurring dream, but also to tell him exactly what he had dreamed. They could not, so Nebuchadnezzar ordered all of the wise men in the kingdom to be killed. Daniel then went before the Lord and asked for understanding, and the Lord answered with a vision of the king's dream. When Daniel went before the king, he gave glory to God for revealing the truth of his dream. His accurate account and interpretation of the dream saved the lives of many people in Babylon. God did what every wise man in Babylon could not do. All Daniel had to do was ask. God does not play cruel games with his children. When you ask for understanding, he may not give you every detail of the situation, but he will reveal exactly what you need to know. With God, you have hope of clarity and understanding. Apparently, it's now the Jane and Ronan show. Reflect. Where do I need God's understanding? Pray. Lord, I trust that you love me and have my best interest at heart. Today, as I face things that feel confusing or foggy, please grant me understanding and peace. Show me the hidden things so I can navigate this day with wisdom. Thank you for your kindness and compassion in my life. Declare, perfect understanding comes from God alone. Act. In the center of a blank piece of paper, write a sentence or phrase that describes your situation. You do not drink water like that. Just trying to get into my water. Then, around that phrase, write out what the Holy Spirit reveals to you. That's an interesting exercise. I think I'll be doing that a little bit later on this afternoon. All right, folks, that is it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed it. Other than that, I will see you again soon. And remember, if you can, do something kind for somebody else. And it's hot. Drink your water if you can. All right, bye.